and this will be known to the web server, because this is a public key. Everyone knows about that. So now what the computer one will do, let's say it is trying to kind of send a data to the web server, okay. So what it will do is that it will encrypt this data. It will encrypt this data before sending out to the web server with the public key of the web server. Okay. So the data will be encrypted with the public key of the web server. Okay. Now, when this data was received by this web server, they can decrypt that using their own private key. Okay, got it? I think it's easy to understand. In similar way, let's say the web server wants to send a data to the computer one in encrypted format. What it will do is that it will encrypt the data with the public key of the client. Okay, and once that data is received via the client, it will decrypt that data using its own private key. Okay, so thing is that they know each other public key, and no one knows each other private key over here. Okay, and that's how thing is that you can kind of, what you can do is that you can encrypt and decrypt the data at the client and server end. But now how the thing is that what do you say, in normal scenario, how the decryption device will help you is that, let's say there's a decryption device that you have put up and you want to know what you want to see the data in decrypted format. So what you will do is that, let's say this is a decryption device. So what this decryption device will do is that you will exchange the key between the decryption device and this computer in a similar manner. You will exchange the public and private key between the decryption device and the web server. Okay, so this is how the keys will be exchanged. So rather than keys getting exchanged between client and web server, the keys will be exchanged in two phases. One is between the decryption device and the client, and one is the similar key, public and private key sharing between the decryption device and the website. So now when you send a data to the web server, so let's say you are sending this data to web server, you will encrypt this data with the public key of the decryption device. Okay, and once the decryption device receives this data, what they will do is that they will decrypt that first, and then they will encrypt that again with the public key of the web server. Okay, and then they will send that data, forward the data on your behalf to the web server. So because you have the hold of the public and private key at the decryption server end, you as a SOC professional will be able to tap upon the traffic and will be able to see the data in plain text. Okay, so I hope I was able to kind of explain that how at a high level how the decryption device will be helping you guys in kind of figuring out kind of how the decryption will happen. So is there any question on that? And do you have any questions on that? Yeah, go on.
Please explain this decryption device again, how it works. So will it be in every organization? So
no, it won't be in every organization, and it will also depend on the country. So let's say you are in India. So in India, the laws are not that strong. So thing is that the company are like allowed to kind of decrypt the traffic of their users, okay, and see that in plain text. That's one thing. So because the laws in India are not very strong, and let's say you are located in US, or let's say you are located in Europe. So over there, most of the time, what happens is that the laws are very strong, and the laws doesn't allow the company to decrypt the traffic that is going back and forth. The HTTP traffic is going back and forth between the web server. Okay, so in that case, you won't be able to kind of set up the systems. Decryption system, you won't be allowed to do that. Okay, but now to address your question specifically, how this decryption device will kind of do the thing, is let's understand that in quickly fashion. So let's say this is a decryption device for an example. Okay, So what it will do is, what the decryption device will do. So let's say client have generated public key and private key. Okay. And in similar manner, let's say decryption device has generated one more public key and private key. Okay. And in similar manner, what it will do is that it will generate other keys also, like let's say public key 2, private key 2. And in similar manner, let's say the web server has also generated its own public key and private key. Okay. Now let's understand how the things will happen. Okay. So when the decryption device is in place, and just imagine, let's say this is a Bob suit tool. So the Bob suit tool that I was showcasing you guys is also like behaving like a decryption device over here. It's a proxy device. Okay. So this is how even the Bob suit tool is also working. So when I will explain this decryption system, it will also explain you indirectly like how the Bob suit is also happening, because here the thing that is decryption device is doing is also the same stuff which the Bob suit is also doing. Okay. So what it is doing is that when, let's say the client is reading the google.com, the server is google.com. So let's say the data that the client wants, to send to the google.com is this data. So what it will do is that the browser or the computers of the systems of the employee are actually configured initially itself, that they needs to kind of use for any kind of HTTPS traffic, they needs to kind of utilize this public key. Okay, PU1. Got it? So that's one thing which is the browsers are already configured to. Okay. Now the thing is that when the client visit the google.com, they won't be getting any kind of pop-up, or they don't need to do any kind of manual setting. Everything will be done automatically for them in the background. The thing is that once they visit google.com, automatically their computer will actually encrypt the data using the public key of the detection device, which is the PU1. Okay. And once this data reaches out to the detection device, the detection device will actually decrypt that data using the PR1, using the private key of its own device. Okay. Now, once this is in decrypted format, what it will do is that it will, you can either log that out in the same platform, or you can review that out. You can see that as a soft person, you can see that in the decrypted format. Okay. And once it is like, you can kind of see that whenever you want. But once it is decrypted, what it will do is that then it will forward this data to the Google server on behalf of you. So what it will do is that before forwarding, it will encrypt that data with the public key of the Google server. Okay, of the Google server. Okay, and now it will send that data back to this one. Okay, to the Google server. Now, when Google server got the data, when Google server got the data that you have sent, it will decrypt that with its own private key, right? And once it has been decrypted, and let's say Google is returning you back another data, so what it will do is that it will encrypt that with the public key of PU2 of this detection device. Okay. And once it does that, once this data return back to the detection device, what this device will do is that it will first decrypt that data using the private key 2. And once this data has been decrypted, then it will be again encrypted. It will be again encrypted with the public key of the client. And once the data has reached out over here to the client will actually decrypt that data using its own private key. So I hope this makes sense. The whole flow made sense to you guys, like how the encryption and decryption happens. Okay. And thing is that so before I proceed.
Sir, I have a question. Sir, when we are setting up the public key of the decryptor in the browser, so do we need to manually set up the keys on the browsers, or can we just push these keys to the browsers of the user?
Yeah, so basically thing is that there are other things also in actions over here. One is definitely there's a certificate. Actually, the certificate actually contains the public key and all. So how we can push that